Glad to see all these people here tonight. This time we'll call our monthly meeting to order, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Mr. Gluttony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to say good evening to the board, and as well as everybody who's here with us this evening. We have quite a few special guests here with us also, and we'll recognize you momentarily. I'd also like to give a special shout out to Fannin leadership. We have several of you here from that this evening, so welcome to our Board of Education meeting. Finally, I'll say welcome to all those who are watching this on Rebel TV this evening as well. Second item on the agenda is the invocation, and what could be his last official act as principal of Fannin County Middle School. We're going to welcome Keith Knuckles up to the podium, and he'll lead us. If everybody would please stand.
Let's go to God in prayer. Most precious, wonderful, powerful, mighty God. Lord, we thank you especially in this season that we have. You have given us so much and proven yourself, and you continually do that. God, we come before you tonight just as your servants, as your children, as those looking for wisdom and guidance and understanding to show the love and compassion that you have shown to us. We thank you, God, for the opportunity, for the privilege to do what we do. We thank you for this community. We thank you, God, for the children, for the young people that you send to us, that we can influence and mold to do the things that they are set aside to do. We ask that you, through tonight, as we gather together and as we go forward in the days to come, continue to give us guidance, unity, wisdom, understanding, God, joy. It's one of the fruit of the Spirit. And Lord, I pray that you'll give us joy because we serve. Take care of these that will make decisions tonight, the speakers, the recognitions, God, all things that you have done in us, through us, and for us. May we serve you and praise you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. All God's people said.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and for that I'd like to welcome Fannin County Sheriff's Deputy Thomas Tang, who is also one of our school resource officers, who will come to the podium and lead us in the pledge. B.
Attention, salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Deputy Captain. Mr. Chair, our next item on the agenda is to approve the consent agenda. Consistency of parts. Item A is to approve the agenda itself for this evening, and B is to approve minutes. So we'll ask Mr. Henson to go ahead and open up D, and we have two sets of minutes posted. The first is from it's for the regular meeting on March 11th. Mr. Hensley will open those and scroll through. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hensley. The next set of minutes is from the call meeting on March 22nd. Thank you, sir. Mr. Chair, I recommend items approved on the consent agenda as presented.
The chair have that motion.
So moved.
Second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is number 5, special recognitions. And at this time, I'd like to welcome Fannin County High School Principal Debbie David-Bells to the podium. Good evening, Ms. David-Bells.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, board. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight. On behalf of Fannin County High School, we are honored to have the opportunity to recognize Mr. David Henson as the 7AA Athletic Director of the Year. Mr. Henson has done an amazing job this year, and we truly appreciate all his efforts to help and support the athletic programs at Fannin County High School. Mr. Henson, if you come forward.
Congratulations.
I'd just like to say to the board, the superintendent, and all these amazing athletes that I get to work with on a daily basis, thank you, because you have allowed Fannin County to be known across the state for its competitive prowess, not just in athletics, but in other areas of literacy and our one-act play, and it's just across the board in all of our extracurricular activities. And because they have allowed that Fannin County name to be accelerated throughout the state, because my name is associated with it, I've received this award. And so I thank you for recognition, but I want to thank our student athletes because that's where this award is originated. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henson. Ms. Davis, tell us about our next recognition.
Well, I'm also very excited to get to have the opportunity to honor and recognize Coach Patterson and Coach Alan Collis, if they would come up at this time. We thank you both for all that you do to help and support our student athletes. This year has been an amazing year for our Fannin County High School Rebels. The success our student athletes have achieved is nothing short of amazing. Our coaches have truly gone above and beyond to grow and support our athletes and programs. Please know how much we appreciate you all and your efforts. So at this time, I'm going to ask that Coach Patterson and or Coach Collis come forward and introduce our state championship team. Go Rebels.
Members of the board, Dr. Gladney, and members of the Fannin County School System District Administration. I'm humbled to be here tonight to recognize the members of the 2021 AA State Championship Wrestling Team. Members include Blake Summers, state champion, 106 pounds, first freshman state champion in Fannin County history. Colton Stevens, fourth place in the state, 113 pounds. Henson, third place in the state, 120 pounds, and a three-time state place winner. Cooper Moreland, 126 pounds. Drake Cantrell, 132 pounds. Taylor College, fourth place in the state and 138 pounds. Carson College, 145 pounds. Jackson Mercer, 145 pounds. Corbin Davenport, sophomore state runner-up, 152 pounds. McKay Turner, third place in the state, 160 pounds, and also a three-time state place winner. Colby Shaw, 170 pounds. Colby's having rotator labrum surgery today, so he couldn't be with us. Tommy Ledford, the cheetah, 182 pounds. Matthew Crowder, fifth place in the state, 195 pounds. Christian Newberry, 220 pounds. Logan Long, 285 pounds. Other members of the team include, and there's a soccer game tonight and a track meet, so some of our guys obviously play multiple sports, so they weren't able to attend. Zechariah Prater, Thomas Golden, Caleb McTaggart, Tristan Seiler, Brian Stiles, Bryson Bradburn, Chelsea Fry, Jesse Davenport, Levi Cochran, Christian Setzer, and Mason Bundy. Our team managers include Carly Cox, Carly Holloway, Bailey Pettit, Lacey Pack, and Lindsey Turner. For us to be able to accomplish such an amazing feat takes a lot of people, and obviously not just me, I'm a small part of the puzzle. My assistant coach, Alan Collis, has been a staple of Fannin County athletic successes over the last 20 years. Has devoted his entire life to this community. I would also like to thank the administration at Fannin County High School, specifically Heather Collis, who goes above and beyond her administrative duties in support of her sons and this wrestling program. Again, additionally, David Henson, who actually during the state wrestling tournament had to knock the rust off his coaching duties because we qualified 14 wrestlers for the state tournament. And anybody who knows anything about that knows that 14 wrestlers in the state tournament is a lot to coach. So he had to come out of the stands and occupy a chair for us every once in a while. Additionally, booster members and parents such as Andrew and Johnny Moreland, Keith Ledford, Pawpaw Henson, Adam and Lynn Turner, Mark and Mary Henson, and countless others who have helped this program grow into a source of pride for this amazing community. On a personal note, these young men over the last 2 years have done everything that myself and Coach Collis have asked of them. Wrestling, unlike any other sport, requires immense discipline, conditioning, and above all else, heart. This season was full of many ups and downs, and these young athletes battled through quarantines, injuries, sickness, and losses to call themselves the first male state championship team in Fannin County history. You know, I sent my wife this earlier today, and she said, "You're going to cry." I said, "No, I'm not. Probably going to cry." On a personal note, it makes me so proud and humbled to be a part of this accomplishment in this community that was there for me and my family. A year and a half ago, we lost everything, and I want to continually thank the Fannin County community and school system for being a family. We're there for each other in times of need, and we celebrate in times of great accomplishment. And to close, in the words of Coach Chad Cheatham, I don't want to break the trend, so we are not done.
Yeah. So we're going to get them organized for a photograph. So if you'd like to take a photograph of the team up here, come on up and get closer. Mr. Galloway, if you and Mr. Bramlett, Mr. Deweese could join them on the sides there. Ladies and gentlemen, they make us proud. Let's give them one more round of applause as they make their way through. That's awesome. Okay, our next special recognition, and I'm looking for Mr. Young. There you are. Okay, since the last Board of Education meeting, Mr. Young has been appointed to take over Fannin County Middle School after this week. So Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the new principal of Fannin County Middle School, Mr. Mark Lynch.
Dr. Barton, Mr. Cole, Mr. Reed, Mr. Fannin, Mr. Dees, Mr. Galloway, I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so much. I want to take this time to do something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I'd like to publicly acknowledge some people that have made a difference in my life. When I was in about second grade, things were not optimal for me. This lady came to Fannin County Schools named Mary Louise Landry. And I can't remember all the things that she ever said, but I can remember how she made me feel. She loved me, and she taught me how to love. And I really appreciate her for that. When I got to 8th grade, there was a man in my life that came along with a hard time again. His name was Mr. Terry Dillard. Terry gave me confidence that I never had before. He believed in me, and I really appreciate him for that. And I've never really got to publicly acknowledge him for that. When I was a junior in high school, my friends and I, we were a little less than perfect, we'll say that. And there was a lady named Bessie Butcher who really made a difference in my life. She taught me that a little less than perfect is not a bad thing. She loved us anyway. But they contributed to what I am now, and I really appreciate that. They were teachers that made a difference in my life. I can't go back and pay them back. There's no way. They've done too much for me to repay. But at this point, I can pay it forward. And I appreciate the opportunity to be in this position so I can pay that forward and help the young people of our community grow and do better. Thank God that he put me in education. It's a wonderful place to be. Best occupation I've ever had. Fannin County is the most wonderful place that I've ever lived. It's the only place I've ever lived. But I can tell you it's the most wonderful place to live. The Fannin County school system is world class, and I am extremely proud to be a part of it. Thank you for your confidence in me to allow me to serve as the principal of Fannin County Middle School. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, our next item on the agenda is number 6, and that's school governance team update. And for this, I'd like to welcome Deputy Superintendent Sarah Regan to the podium. Good evening, Ms. Regan.
Good evening, Dr. Botany and school board members. I'm privileged this evening to stand before you and talk a little bit about what the school governance teams are doing in Fannin County. Over the last month, the teams have been meeting and doing their various jobs, which include monitoring achievement and working to make sure that each of the schools is optimally functioning. So a couple of highlights here, and Mr. Inslee, if you want to just scroll, I'll just give you a couple of highlights from each. Mr. Foster presented information about transportation, ESSGT, and Ms. Reimer also shared with her team about the parent input survey, which was conducted earlier in the winter. At West Fannin, Coach Mashburn and a team of students shared the interactive blue system, which you saw at your meeting there, your all-day training back, I guess that was in early December. So we got to see it demonstrated by kids this past month, which was super, super cool. And I know you're looking forward to seeing that also the next time that you visit West Fannin Elementary. They also talked about their STEAM plans that are upcoming. At Fannin Middle School, we had 2 meetings during the month of March. The first meeting was the usual monthly meeting, which then followed up on March 22nd with the interviews for the principal's position, and you just met Mr. Mark Young, who was named as the principal here at the Board of Education meeting later that day. At high school, we had 2 meetings this past month also. At the regular meeting, Ms. Emily Fellenbaum, a teacher at the high school, presented about the agriculture program, and she did a phenomenal job. One thing that the high school SGT has worked very hard this year to do is to make sure that they recognize the pathway teachers and all the great accomplishments that are being done there at their school. It was awesome. We also met on Monday, March 29th as a called meeting where we went into executive session to discuss personnel. And of course, as you know, we are hoping that on April 30th, when we meet in a called meeting, that we will complete the interview process and be able to name a high school principal or recommend a high school principal for your consideration later that day at your meeting. Some things that are going on in April, we did ask for principal feedback from all SGT members, and then we shared that information with our principals this past week. We also announced today about orientation training for anyone who's interested in being part of the school governance teams at the schools, the process that they would need to go through so that they can become a part of our SGTs. And what we're looking forward to in May is SGT elections at our schools and also SGT self-assessments. So it's been extremely busy this summer or this spring for our SGTs. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Item number 7 is school happenings. And I'd like to turn the floor over at this time to East Fannin Elementary School Principal Matt Price. Good evening, Mr. Price.
Good evening, Dr. Gwatney and Board of Education. I appreciate the opportunity to come up and talk about my school, and I hate to be the one following Coach Patterson, but that was quite a speech and a recognition there. So a lot of great things happening across the board in our school system. Okay, so recently Dr. Miller and his wife donated us 2 chicken coops at our school, and so of course that gets our kids excited, and particularly our 2nd grade, which stages the life cycle, started about 30, I think. We raised about 30, hatched about 30 chicken eggs due to our chickens addition there, and so here in this next slide, just great to have this addition in our school and get our kids excited about something that teaches them responsibility. We have our teachers who signed up to actually purchase eggs. It's $2 or $3 a dozen, and it goes back into like feed and other items for our chickens to keep them established at our school. I have about 20 of them. Like I said, our kids got super excited. In the middle there, I'm signing some adoption papers, which I had the power to do as a principal, but for chickens. And so the Thursday before Easter, those kids took those chickens home with parent permission, of course. And so that was one way to kind of get rid of those chickens before we went out for a week's break. But when we got back, we had several more hatched out. So just to appreciate that donation from Dr. Miller and his wife as they were of course, left our county, and we just appreciated the excitement that's strong. Greg Tang Virtual Math Night. Each year in our parent engagement survey, we get feedback from our parents, and they want more help with our math. And so, of course, we can't gather in large groups in our schools with parents, and so we had a virtual math night. Greg Tang is awesome. He really explains in simple terms for our parents to help their students at home. And so these kids signed up virtually. They brought a permission slip home. And so if those parents committed to watching the Greg Tang virtual math night, then we did door prizes the next day as an incentive for those students to watch and learn along with their parents at home. And so we also had some estimation jars of where each grade level came up, and there was a jar full of like eggs and beans and other things that they could estimate. And those students got pretty close. I mean, it's amazing how close some of those students got. One was within, I think it was about 755 beans in a jar, and they were, I think, around 750. So it was either really good luck or they're really good at estimating. So we're going to go with the latter. I also like to thank our SPLOST generated funds, of course, with our STEM additions. We are in the process of building an additional outdoor classroom. We have power and Wi-Fi out to those classrooms. It's about 90% probably complete, and so we'll have that soon. And also, it's in the area that we used SPLOST funds for last year to clean up the old baseball field in the bottom down there. And so we're really turning that area into a usable, just beautiful area for our kids. And we're also updating our video room. Updated last week during spring break, Mr. Danner had some fire escape windows added to our classrooms. That was updated. It looked really nice as well. Our investigative research team, we have about 10 kids who are participating in the investigative research class. They go about 2 45-minute sessions a week, and so they have an upcoming STEM challenge from the GAE called Soil Explorers, and so they'll be participating in that. And as you see, these are just 4 examples of some things that they've investigated this year, going through the process of doing the research, the experiments, and things that And they learn a lot through failure, which I think is an important lesson for those students to, after failing through an experiment, of not giving up and keeping, keep going till they get the right answer. And so, just a great job. Ms. Holden does a really great job with those, and Dr. Lyons came in and got those kids started, and so they've really taken off and done a great job. We also have a Robotics Club, and so they meet actually during their recess, and so Ms. Holden was hesitant, thinking that, they may not want to trade that off, but she said some of the fifth graders are actually trying to finish lunch early to get out there and get started with it, and so that's great. It's about 10 kids. And so they take what they learn in the STEM classroom, and then they're accelerating and pushing even further with coding and those robots. And they do an amazing job. We've got some really talented kids that take what they learn in class and now are applying it in activities outside of class. 2 weeks ago, we had some fifth graders who, about 20 of them, because we couldn't, of course, send our whole fifth grade class, but we chose about 20 that represented our school at all learning levels and other areas of students to make sure that our school was well represented. We had student council gifted anywhere from, just all demographics of kids at our school. And so they had, I tell you, I was blown away with the CTAE program. I know you guys have toured it, and so just great. We had some at the ag facility. We had the carpentry class. Mr. Gibbs went over videography with our kids. Miss Gibbs had some of the medical stuff, and also Jeremy King. He was a star. I tell you, if I fell and got hurt on high school campus, I'd trust those kids to come out and work on me, and they would do a great job, because he had them almost at command. They would go through those centers with our kids. And they just did a great job, and it was they were pretty flawless. And so he's got those kids trained, and I'm sure they're job ready when they leave our school. And so as you can see, the CPR kids, and I want to commend also our high school kids. They did a great job working with our little kids. They took them under their wing, and they did a great job. And also Mr. Flowers, and I'll tell you, my administration anxiety went up when I walked in that room, and but after about 2 minutes in there, it was definitely design chaos. It was not unsafe at all, because at first you're like, oh my God, these kids walking around with torches and welders, but they listen when he calls them. They listen, and I had a group of 7 girls, and so I thought he would ease them into it. He lit his torch and said, y'all ready to burn something? And so those girls' eyes got big, but by the end, they were comfortable and they enjoyed themselves. It was an awesome sight to see, the great things going on in there. So we enjoyed it. The Digger Dog 811 tree planting at EFES. The Thursday before we left for spring break, they came over and helped our kids plant about 20 trees around our campus. Before that, they did a presentation with our kids to go over the safety of not planting trees under power lines, making sure that you call 811 before you dig, and really did a great presentation. And then went throughout our campus and planted about 20 trees around our campus. And so our kids enjoyed it, got to get out in the sunshine and work a little bit, and so they really enjoyed themselves. Easter egg hunt. So with, of course, with the restrictions we have and things, we try to keep things as normal as possible at our school. And so when people can't come in our school, they call and they want to help in any way they can. And going back to what Coach Patterson said, our community really just wants to help us in any way they can. And so we had just tons and tons of donations of eggs. Our high school key club came over and hid the eggs for our kids and enjoyed themselves with them. And just to note, our pre-K is the top right, the second picture. They had 1,500 eggs donated to 22 pre-K kids. And so Ms. Reimer, our parent liaison, had actually go test that bag to make sure that number of eggs would fit into 22 bags before we threw them out there. So just wonderful donations and people that care about our kids that want to help in times. So Actually today, we had an author do a virtual reading to our 3rd and 4th grade kids. His name is Mick Barnett, and he read Earl the Squirrel. And so he has 2 grandkids at our school, and that was his first published book. And so I asked our media specialist, I'm like, how big of a deal is that to get an author? And a lot of authors charge hundreds of thousands of dollars just to do a virtual visit with the kids to read the book. And so he's just getting started. He did an awesome job. I mean, our kids were engaged and asking questions. He promoted literacy and writing, and just really kind of lit a fire for our kids, and went through his story by publishing his first book. So we were excited about that, and anything, our kids met a real live author today. So that was good for them. So, y'all have any questions?
I'd just like to make a comment.
Okay.
Great presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Price, I had just last week 60,000 trout eggs hatched. I may need you to come over and help me with those adoption papers.
I'll do it. Look, I can't say I know anything about it. I got kids that be excited about getting over there today, so they've learned a lot. It's, like I said, we had about 30 chickens up down the hallway, and I was like, what in the world are we going to do with these chickens? So anyway, we got rid of them all. So we had some happy parents. I bet the news probably went off of them by now.
Did I understand, sir, your 5th grade students began to learn CPR?
They went through, what they did is they went through the CPA pathways, the different classes at the high school. And so Mr. King had different stations. They did like wound care, CPR, just giving them the basics of what they do in their classroom. And so, but yeah, they kind of got the gist of it. They had the dummies, I'm probably calling this wrong, but the dummies they push down on and do the CPR. They got to do that, and the wound care and the needles, and they had the safety needles, of course, for the students. But he had different stations of kind of what he teaches his kids. And so I really want to connect what we do at our school and try to align, like Mr. Roof has been talking about pretty much all year. And so to give our kids that experience, to get excited about and start looking towards middle school and high school into the future, and possibly choose those pathways when they get older. And we also wanted to, I said I had a group of 7 girls in welding. We want to encourage that non-traditional pathway too for girls to get into welding or, other pathways. So, and some of them were excited. Some of them were scared at first. That welding was exciting in there, so it was fun.
Any other on the board? I tell you, I know there's some former principals in the room and some folks that went to East Fannin. It's just really exciting to see the things that are happening at East Fannin right now, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you all. And as a parent and an administrator, I appreciate all that you guys do for us and the way that we work together to make our school system great. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Price. The next item on the agenda is a central office update, and for this month's update board, we have Deputy Superintendent Sarah Reagan's going to return to the podium. She's going to provide an update on some federal coronavirus emergency relief funds. I know that we've already been talking about this and making some related approvals from the various funds, and we just received additional information about some forthcoming funds. So it's a lot to kind of take in. It's very complicated, and Ms. Reagan, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good evening again. So I'm going to give an overview of the coronavirus emergency relief funds that we have received in our school system, and funds that we will be receiving soon. There are actually 3 major parts that we have or will receive in the near future. The first that you heard about was actually released last March, and it was called ESSER 1, or also the CARES Act. That's the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. The period of availability for these funds runs through September 30th of 2021, though there is also a carryover period that is through September 30th of 2022. Included in the CARES Act, there are 18 formula and state reserve grants that are part of CARES 1. The next round of funding that we have received is the ESSER 2, or also called the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, which is commonly referred to as CARES 2, or you may also hear it called Cresa. The period of availability for these funds is from March 13th, 2020, so they were retroactive to last year at the beginning of the pandemic, and they run through September 30th of 2022 with a carryover period through 2023. Included in the Cresa Act, there are 3 formula or state reserve grants that are part of it. Finally, we most recently received notice about the ESSER 3, or the Arp Act, which is the American Rescue Plan Act, and it's commonly referred to as CARES 3. The period of availability for these funds is from March 11th, 2021 through September 30th of 2023, with a carryover period through September 30th of 2024. Included in the ARP Act are 2 formula and state reserve grants. So let's look into what we have earned or what has been awarded in Fannin County from each of these CARES Acts. The original CARES Act, we received $721,600. The next act, the CRRSA Act, the Cresa Act, or CARES 2, we received $3,022,125. Most recently, we received notice about the Arp Act, and the Arp Act, we'll see the star there, is $4,411,721. I'll tell you a little bit more in a moment about that figure. So let's break it down by each of these different acts. So CARES 1, as of March 31st, this past month, 88.9% of our approved CARES budget has been expended, leaving $79,807.65 to be spent on or before September 30th of 2021. As of the April drawdown, the district will have received $641,792.35 from the Georgia DOE from this CARES 1 budget. You may be wondering, where did we spend the money? So here are the DOE items that were approved in our CARES 1 budget. We spent approximately $151,425 in COVID leave costs, which includes salary and benefits to employees. We also spent approximately $235,286 in online learning platforms or student subscriptions, Wi-Fi hotspots, which we provided to families in their homes, and also Chromebook cases. We've also spent approximately $68,107 in PPE, hand sanitizer, and cleaning supplies. Approximately $98,300 has been spent in cleaning and sanitization equipment. We've also spent about $13,000 in water bottle filling station rentals. We spent approximately $60,855 in school bus routing software and additional fuel for express routes so that we can limit exposure. Finally, our school nutrition program has spent about $68,700 in serving containers, wraps, and disposable trays for remote meal service. The Cresa Act, which is ESSER 2. Fannin County Cresa budget was approved by the Georgia Department of Education on March 9th, 2021. We have not drawn down any funds from this budget so far. The Cresa budget for Fannin County is $3,022,125. Here are the DOE items that are approved in our budget. We have retention bonuses for all employees who returned for the 2021-22 school year. That was unveiled at last month's meeting. We also have 5 part-time reading and 5 part-time math interventionists, 1 for each school, for each subject, to work exclusively with students who need additional assistance. We have software subscriptions to GoGuardian, Nearpod, ClassLink, MAP, Edgenuity, which will be for 9th and 12th grades. We have $54,000 allocated for student school supplies this year because we are not going to ask for any parents to purchase any school supplies for the upcoming school year. We're extremely excited about this. We also have in our budget and our approved budget, Chromebooks and ViewSonic flat panels. We also have the salary and benefits approved for a crisis counselor, and that position has been posted now for several days. We also have a salary and benefit in our budget for a parent involvement coordinator for Fannin County High School. In the past, we have had a parent involvement coordinator or parent liaison in our elementary and middle schools that's been funded by Title I. We're going to try it out at the high school and see if that position would be a great addition to that staff also. So this next year, once we have a principal in place, we will post and then interview and hire for a parent involvement coordinator there. In the Cresa budget, we have an additional $50,000 for cleaning supplies and PPE as needed. We will also continue the rental of the water bottle filling stations. We have custodial carts and also food service carts because we serve meals in other locations than just our cafeterias. We also are going to renew our transportation routing software and increase costs of additional fuel for express routes. And as I mentioned, our approved budget by the Georgia DOE has not been drawn down upon yet. We are actually looking to exhaust CARES 1 before we begin work on the Cresa budget. Finally, let's look at the American Rescue Plan, which is also called ARP, and some people may refer to it as CARES 3. So the State Board of Education approved Fannin County's allocation on Thursday, March 25th. The grant award for ARP for Fannin County is $6,787,263. On the same day that this is approved, guess what? USAID notified Georgia and said, hey, listen, we've changed our minds. We're going to change the parameters of the ARP grant. And so the grant disbursement changed. So states are going to receive 2/3 of the grant that was awarded, and now we'll have to reapply for the remaining 1/3 at a later date. So this has changed what our allocation is. Our current allocation is $4,411,721. Later, we will apply for the remaining funds. We are hopeful that at some point we hear what the process is for applying. That has not been released yet. Like Cresa, ARP is not subject to equitable services for private schools. And ARP does have a new minimum requirement of 20% for spending to address the decrease or learning loss as an effect of the coronavirus. Like the two grants before it, ARP will require that the district complete a use of funds form that will demonstrate our compliance to what is allowable under the law. So what are our next steps? Well, we'll continue to monitor our budgets, and we will approve requisitions based on what has been approved by the Georgia Department of Education. We will continue to receive input from principals and district leaders about the findings from their comprehensive needs assessments that are in progress now, and we'll try to determine if any of those needs can be addressed using these federal budgets. We'll begin the process of developing a budget for the ARP Funds Acts sometime in the near future. And of course, we will meet any budget deadlines for spending as they approach, with the first deadline being in September of 2021. Do you have any questions or comments?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. DeWeese?
Can you elaborate on those part-time detention teachers?
The part-time intervention teachers?
Yes.
I absolutely can, Mr. DeWeese. We did include in our budget some part-time positions at each of the schools. They are not benefits eligible positions. It will be for individuals who are willing to work 90 days at either an hourly rate of $22 an hour or the daily rate of $176, which is what we pay currently to our long-term subs. The intervention specialist will not be a teacher of record for any student in the building. Their sole purpose will be to help deliver intervention that is designed by the teachers, academic coaches, and anyone who's involved in the MTSS process. That process is the process where we try to find a student's areas of need and then work quickly to address those issues. The interventionist position, we actually have tried it out this year using some other federal funds, the Title I funds. So currently in our schools, we do have 2 interventionists that are working, one at East Fannin Elementary and one at Fannin County Middle School. And it has gone so swimmingly well. That was why we decided to go ahead and expand and use our CARES Act funds to be able to use those positions next year and go into all of the schools. So these employees keep up with a timesheet, which is signed off on monthly, and they are paid from that timesheet through accounts payable. So they are not our employee, they are a contracted employee. And so one will be for math, and one will be for reading ELA. We're extremely excited about this. The two ladies who are currently working with us as contractors at Fannin County Middle and at East Fannin Elementary have absolutely loved it, and those two schools are absolutely ecstatic to have someone in the building to be able to work specifically with students who are struggling and have specific needs.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Good question. Are there any other questions?
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reagan. Okay, our next item on the agenda is number 9, and that's district health update. We're going to ask Mr. Root to come to the podium. Good evening, Mr. Root.
Good evening, Dr. Whiting. Good evening, board. Before I get started with this, I will say, going back to Mr. Price's presentation, due to those chickens, my daughter now has 4 chicks at our house, so it's really splendid, Mr. Price. I appreciate that a lot. I will say also that talking about the CTA department, those high school kids appreciated the 5th graders coming just as much as the 5th graders did. And our goal next year, if the COVID-19 restrictions from the DPH allow us to, is to have every 5th grader in the county have that opportunity up in the CTA department at the high school as well, so we really look forward to it. I will say that also, just really quickly, we've been asked by the DOE to put together a video of all of the wonderful STEM opportunities that our kids have at all the elementary schools and our middle school and upcoming in the high school. And the elementary schools and the middle school have submitted those videos to me, and we're going to put them all together. And I'm not kidding when I say I've literally cried. I've come to tears with every single video I watch for what our schools are doing when it comes to STEM education, and it's really unbelievable, and I can't wait to share that with y'all on their behalf. So when it comes to the COVID-19 information, we can start with either one, Ms. Ringley. We'll start with our student numbers there and our current case information. As you see, these update again every Friday, and right now, based on the way that we report these from the Department of Public Health and the way that we're supposed to report them, as you can see right now with the current positives, less than 10, students exposed, quarantine to the school exposure, 19, and then non-school exposure, less than 10, and then our employees that are currently positive, less than 10, and then 0 for the quarantines. And of course, again, we'll update those numbers tomorrow morning, like we do every single Friday. And then the graph, this comes again from weather.com, and it shows you our just how we are right now in Fannin County. And you can see that, of course, we had the big spike back in January, and right now it's continued to go down in terms of COVID cases. Of course, we do have to be mindful that after the spring break, we're still extremely careful to see what happens after that, after the spring break, and so hopefully there won't be any explosion like we saw in January, but we still have to continue to be careful and be smart about what we're doing.
I am optimistic about 0 new cases yesterday in Fannin County.
That is good news. And our hospitals, I did check with the hospital, Fannin Regional, and right now they're in good condition when it comes to the number of cases and the number of ICU beds and so on and so forth at the moment. And then one last thing here on this is a flyer that we've given. We put this out to every school system employee, and this is from our Fannin County Health Department, and they're doing a vaccine for anyone that wants it, 16 and over. And so we have this flyer here. It's April 27th from 4 to 6:30 at the health department. And before I take a seat, I just want to also, one more thing. We did have a rule change, the Department of Public Health, when it comes to how the contact tracing works and the quarantining. So when it comes to students, it's no longer a 6 foot, you no longer have to look at anyone that was within 6 feet of a positive case when determining who to quarantine when it comes to students. Now they've minimized that down to 3 feet. So you only have to look at students that have been within 3 feet for that period of time from a positive case when determining who to quarantine. And so that's something that did change. Before I sit down, I just want to say thank you to our school administrators and all the work that they've done when it comes to contact tracing and following those DPH protocols. They've done it with integrity, we've done it with integrity, and it's allowed us to stay as safe as we can when it comes to contact tracing and quarantining. I want to say thank you to our nurses. We could not have had the year that we've had without our nurses. They work extremely hard. Being over the nurses has been a pleasure for me, and I just can't say enough about them. And then our AST workers, our attendance support team workers, even in the midst of COVID-19, we still have to follow the law when it comes to student attendance, and they're doing a great job doing that, and I'm very proud of them for the job that they do. And then finally, just our teachers, parapros, and all the people that work with our students every day. I can't say enough from the bottom of my heart how proud I am of those individuals during this challenging time. They work every single day and give it their all every day, and we're just very thankful for that.
Mr. Roof, I'd like to add to that, you have done an incredible job facilitating and coordinating all of that.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any questions for Mr. Roof about the data or the partnership with the health department next week for the vaccination clinic?
All right, thank you.
Well done, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I think he deserves a round of applause. He's kept us in school. Okay, Mr. Banner. Item number 10 is public comment.
Dr. Carter, we have two people signed up for public comment. The first is Mr. John Mason, a senior's perspective. That's his time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Banner. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Doctor. Good evening, board members. It's a pleasure
Mr.
to be here, and I thank you very much for allowing me to speak. My name is John Mason. I'm a resident of Fannin County since 1997. In a month, I'll be in my 82nd year, praise God. I'm a retired 05, a veteran of service in and with the United States Coast Guard, a retired professional and nuclear engineer with classified participation in nuclear weapons materials production. I was born before Pearl Harbor. I remember as a child blackouts, air raid wardens, rationing, and victory gardens. Yes, even in the Bronx, where a tree is a rarity, we had victory gardens. I've seen America change from a strong, unified nation, for the most part, where truth, morality, family, and God were the unquestioned fabric and glue that made America what it was. Today, the rate of change is exponential and a direction away from the values of yesteryear. We live in a culture that, in large part, no longer believes in absolute truth. That history can be rewritten to suit the dominant narrative. Consider the so-called 1619 Project. That there are more than two sexes, it's up to about 50 now, I think. That males can be females and females can be males. That same-sex marriage is normal. In the wake of the denial of truth, the denial of God, who is the source of all truth, the culture now decides for itself what is right and what is wrong. Isaiah once said, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil." So the powerful, that is, the governing elite, the dominant social voice, becomes the arbiter of the direction of societal lockstep progression. and the decider of the popular fates. Gentlemen, I ask that you truly grasp the importance of your role in protecting this community and protecting our young from the godless ideologies of the day. Already, there have been attempts to corrupt, among them a recent effort to establish a gay-straight alliance club at our high school in the hope of providing, and I quote, a vehicle for deep social change, end quote. Please note the SGT meeting report dated 1/15/20 in your package. Americans have far too long trusted the powers that be to act honestly and for the common good. That simply is no longer the case. For some inexplicable reason, our leaders have failed to challenge the wrongful interpretation of the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment of our Constitution, allowing this wrongful interpretation to prevail for so long and at such a tremendous cost. History clearly shows that it was never the intent of the Founding Fathers to jettison God and His truth from government or public life. Please see the paper Separation of Church and State also in your package. The falsehood that our Constitution is a godless document is today widely propagated, even taught in our law schools. Historian David Barton expertly debunks this progressive narrative in his CD, God and the Constitution, a copy of which is also included in your package. It is time, I believe, before our time runs out. The harsh reality of jackboot communism always follows progressive socialism. It is time to stand against long-accepted falsehoods. It is time to stand squarely, all of us, for the truth. Gentlemen, your community deeply appreciates your past vigilance as watchmen on the walls and stands with you as you continue to defend and speak out for the truth. Thank you for your time, and may God bless us all.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Van with the second comment.
Second speaker is Ms. Tiffany Rowe, regarding the college.
Hello, Ms. Rowe.
Can I ask first if everybody received their packages? Everybody got them? Okay. I stand on your first one. I had no way of knowing that you got them, so. I'm directing this to the school board. I want to believe that you are all sitting up here because you believe in education and in this community. I have lived here since 2006. I've been proud to live here. I've been proud of our community and proud of the school system. Excuse me. I'm coming to you now because I feel like there are many things that are at issue within our school system on behalf of your teachers and your staff, especially. You are responsible to set the vision and goals and for the policies of this district. You do not answer to the superintendent, but he answers to you. If you do not ask the questions, if you do not investigate the letters that I have given you, if they did not, every one of them, break your heart, that those were all written by teachers in this school system, then ask yourself if you are honestly doing your job. I am saying this because you work for me. You work for everyone in here, and you work for this community. And it is your job to make sure that we are taking care of those taking care of our children. You've spent a good amount of time tonight sharing all the wonderful things that our school system does. But I would like to also point out that those things are being done because of the dedication of your teachers and the staff in the system. I was going to address that we've only had one social worker in the system for almost 3,000 children. I did see that we were looking to hire somebody, so I'm just going to skip over that because of time. I'm going to remind you that we have lost several teachers, and it sounds like we're losing more at this time. Teachers are choosing to retire early to get out of this school system. Teachers are willing to commute over an hour to get out of this school system. Teachers who have been teaching for 2 and 3 years are leaving, resigning, I think you have one of those letters now, to get out of this school system. That is not something to be proud of. That is something to address. I have not received one email from any of you, except for Mr. Cole, as a follow-up, to let me know, did you receive the letters? Did you care about what you read? Will you research it? Will you acknowledge it? Nothing. And your silence is disrespectful to me and to the teachers that wrote them. You don't know me, and I don't know you. My comments and my reasons for being here are not directed at you personally or singularly. They are directed to the board as a whole. Please consider what your goals are for education and for Fannin County and determine if we are taking the steps to get there. I've had children, like I said, in this system for many years, and I am proud to have raised them here. I am proud of the school system. I have been in the past. We did not get here in a day. I don't believe it can be fixed in a day, but I believe it can be fixed. But you have to acknowledge first that there's a problem to be solved. I hope you do.
Thank you, Mrs. Gray. Mr. Danner, next item on the agenda. Construction update.
The board, instead of taking personal pictures, we get a weekly and monthly update from our CM at the property. So these were 2 weeks old. These were before spring break. So again, that's a construction exit, getting close to the dam out there. Walk through this road right through. Got any questions? If you've not been out lately, from the time we went out and broke ground on it several months ago until now, tremendous change. And with good weather, hopefully they've actually started moving some dirt this week. And when I say moving dirt, I'm talking about massive dirt. And there's going to be a ton more moving. So again, these pictures are about 2 weeks old. And so again, if you have time, just ride by. And all you have to do, if you're going towards East Fannin, just look to your left, and you'll see where it's at. Because it's going to be a beautiful place once we get everything complete.
Any questions about the progress on that construction? Okay, I think I led him to construction. Yeah, let's go ahead and go back and catch facilities also, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Yeah, again, several things going on. These are old, again, 2 weeks old. This is at Blue Ridge Elementary. That's the aquaponics. It used to be the dome. Blue Ridge purchased a greenhouse that is now in cover over that. So you'll get to see that next week on our retreat. This is the outdoor classroom Mr. Price was talking about there. This was when the storm hit. We had all the issues out there. We finally got it cleaned up, got the contractors out there. This was not at the property. Now, this is at East Fannin, so I know there's a lot of trees being cut. Again, that's a lot of cleanup. That area is where the second outdoor classroom is going to go. Should be coming in the next couple of weeks. That's at of course, the power pole that's there. Until we get the classrooms actually built, we're not going to run the power from the pole until we know exactly where to go. A little excitement there at West Fannin during the 7 inches of rain. Actually, this was during the 5 inches of rain the next week. The first week we got 7 inches of rain, and then the next week we got 5 inches of rain. And principal at West Fannin called me and says, we got a problem. I said, what is it? She said, we got a leak. I said, well, where's that? And then she sent me a picture. And I said, well, we don't have a leak, we got a problem. And so again, got a hold of the contractor who installed it originally. And so again, it's been replaced. That happened about roughly 5:30 or so that morning. If it had happened about 30 minutes later, it could have got a principal or a custodian walking in, and just a ton amount of water that was on that. So again, that's the new replacement there at East Fannin. I'm sorry, at West Fannin. Old bus garage, potholes. We lost one of the small vehicles in that pothole, so we can make us, put some stuff down there, so again, you know, it won't be too long before we get a new facility. Baseball, give me a call and says, hey, we got a problem. Three-wheeler over there, got a problem. I called Denver. I said, Denver, can y'all guys take a look at it? Because those things are fairly expensive. You know, three-wheeler that is specialized to have these all equipment, I mean, they're $15,000 to $20,000. So again, I'll have to give Denver his guys credit for that. We got that repaired for less than $600, and Coach Stone says that's the best it's run ever since they've had it. So again, kudos to the bus guys. Fannin County High School, the adaptive center out in our special needs classroom. Miss Miller come to me and says, hey, we need to, you know, design a place that we can teach our kids on how to, you know, wash clothes, cook, that sort of thing. So we got some guys come up, take a look at it, and got that done fairly quickly. It is complete. We're waiting on appliances, and so that's where the washer and dryer is going to go. So again, we took half of a classroom and again made it an adaptive classroom. When it gets fully complete, our students are going to fully, you know, learn how to do some major things there in their household. That's some before and after pictures there. Go ahead there, Tracy. So again, we're just waiting on appliances, and again, that's going to meet the needs of our students. And since these pictures were again taken a couple of weeks ago, there's a lot of things been going on the last 2 weeks. So the May board meeting will actually come back into April, and so again, there'll be a lot more things going on that again just didn't have time this go around across the spring break.
Sir, I want to apologize to you for swapping those agenda items. But he's awesome, and Mr. Inslee over here just made it happen just like that. So, Mr. Chair, my apologies for it. But we got both items covered. So does anybody have any questions about either agenda item, since I threw them at you out of order there with construction or with the facilities update?
I just thought you were trying to speed up the meeting.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, next item, and I'm going to look again. Hold that a little further. Approved district financial reports. So we're going to welcome Ms. Wynn to the podium. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Dr. Whitney Board. Tonight I present to you our general fund budget, which is 66.66% complete for the year, February 28, 2021. Our local revenue is at 94.63% versus 94.61% from the prior year. Our total revenues is at 83.26% versus 82.14% from the prior year. And our total expenses are at 58.72% versus 62.47% from the prior year.
Mr. Chair, I regard this as a healthy financial report. I recommend approval as presented.
Chair seeking the motion.
Motion to approve financial report is presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you. Ms. Wynn, SPLOST update.
Yes, sir. Our SPLOST update, we have collected $603,930.41 for, that was received the last day of March for our February collections. That's 38.2% growth. And so we've actually collected $1.88 million more than what we had anticipated.
Okay, and we have one more month of collection to receive on SPLOST 4, which will actually fill in the 3/20/21.
March the 30th, we will receive our collection that was through April the 30th, we will receive our collection for March.
So, Board, we have one collection remaining on SPLOST 4, but what was it, effective April 1st? Fannin County began collecting the SPLOST 5.
Correct.
Okay, so we are transitioning, but we have one more check on 4. So this is a great update, Board, and we're thankful that the Fannin County economy especially has remained strong. Okay, our next item, close this out, is an update on the FY22 budget. We're in the process now of developing the FY22 budget, and we're optimistic because, as I mentioned just a moment ago, the economy continues to show, good signs of growth here in Fannin County, and that we're able to revisit a project that we actually, I don't want to take too much of your thunder, but we actually were looking at starting a year ago, but when the governor announced, freezes to budgets and a significant cut was expected, we had to hold. So I won't say any more, Ms. Wynn. The floor is yours.
Okay. I'm just going to give you a quick update on where we are in our FY22 budget preparations. So, if the Georgia's legislative session is 40 days, and Governor Kemp gave his third State of the State speech on January the 14th, 2021, and the General Assembly really got busy working on the state budget. And it's wonderful to say that on March 31, 2021 was Sendai Day and the last day of the Georgia legislative session. I'm very thankful that we had a normal legislative session this year, and it didn't stop in March and take until June. So it's a little bit more back to normal, and that was nice to see. So for our good news in our Fannin County school system that we can report, we received our midterm allotment sheet, and with the governor's partial restoration, some of the amended formula adjustment, our net QBE earnings for FY21 has increased approximately $635,000. So when I bring you in a month or so our amended budget, you will see where our revenues are increasing that amount. We have a healthy fund balance. We are debt-free, and we are earning and not paying any interest. So that is wonderful news for us. And we began our FY22 budget preparations by meeting with all of our principals and directors to get their ranked needs and wants lists for their schools and programs. And this occurred on February 26th and March the 3rd of 2021. And all of our directors are currently working on their many different pieces and responsibilities for building their individual department budgets, as you saw, the numerous CARES budgets that we have. And these will all come together to form our overall district budget. And Dr. Rocky and I have been working on our general fund budget and reviewing all of our employee compensation packages and requests from principals and directors. And what we have also done is we've also performed a thorough analysis of all of our classified personnel salary tables. And this is a project that Dr. Rocky and I discussed 2 years ago. And he charged me with this task last year. But COVID-19 hit, and everything shut down, and state budget cuts came, and freeze of all spending. So that has really delayed us until now. So now, we have been doing that, and in our review, we found that we should update all of our classified salary tables so that the number of years and the step increment percentages are the same across the board for those salary tables, so that you've got the pairs are the same with custodian and the step increments. Because right now, we currently have some tables with only 10 steps, others with 20 steps, some even with 25 or more steps, and we have some classified employees who are not even on a table. So we want to correct that and change that. So our current tables also have step increment percentages that range anywhere between 0.61% as the step increase to a 3%. So as we are talking on all our current, what we're doing is taking all our current classified salary tables that we can use, and we're adding 1% across the board to step 0 on every table. And then we're adding a 2% step increment to each step applied from step 0 up to step 21. And if we'll just examine every single one, if there's some that we need to change to be more competitive, then we'll certainly do that. And we're also continuing to work and to create or find the correct classified salary table so that all classified employees are placed on a salary table. And in doing this process, we'll make sure that no one sees any pay decrease from changing any of these tables. So to give you an example of what does this mean, just to take the custodian scale as an example, step 0 is $10.38 an hour, and it goes to step 20 at $12.93 an hour. So our new proposed scales that would be in the budgets for you to adopt or approve would be start at $10.48 an hour, which is the 1% increase, and go to $15.89 per hour to step 21. So this scale would be effective with the September 30th payroll if passed. And just to kind of continue on with the custodian while I'm on that subject, if you take our old scales and look from step 0 to step 20, that's about a 25% increase. The new scales from step 0 to step 21 will be about 50% or 51% increase. And then also, while on the subject of custodians, we currently have vacant positions for custodians. And if hired at our April 30th or May board meeting, the new custodians would qualify for our retention bonus of $2,000. And they also could bring in up to 10 years of experience if they have that in field. So I want to let everyone know that as well. And they also have, the board provides for all employees the single coverage for health insurance for bronze and single dental coverage. And the board also provides a retirement for the maintenance and custodians that's 3% whether they put in any money or not, and then they match up to 3%, as well as sick leave and vacation and holidays. So just for any custodians that want to come apply. And then to continue, we're using step 21 as our stopping point in the new scales because that's the same stopping point that the state teachers pay scale uses. And to give you another example of our changes, our bus drivers have a state-based rate of pay, which we can't change, but we have a local supplement, and we're adding a 1% increase to each step on their local supplement. And then we're also adding a longevity increase to their scale, starting at $25 on step 1, increasing to $50 for step 2, and so on and so forth. So just to give an example, a bus driver at the very top of the scale will see about a $780 increase in the next year. I also want to mention we're looking at our sub-pay rates to see if they need to increase as well. And then we are also increasing our local teacher supplements for them from 6% of state-based pay to 7% of state-based pay. Our employees, our children are our most valuable assets, but our employees are our most valuable assets because they love on our children, teach our children, feed our children, transport our children, and put everything into our children. And then I just want to say we're continuing to work hard on our FY22 budget. This does not include everything in our budget. We're still working on list and needs list and putting all of those things together. And we're looking at bringing our first public budget meeting to be in June, which we'll also advertise in the newspaper. Any questions?
Board?
I just want to thank you for the months and months of work that you put into this project. It's been something that we have been seeking for a while, quite a while in fact, and developing those classified salary tables is going to move our system forward. So thank you for all of the very hard work that you put into developing that. It was quite a task.
Any others? Ms. Wynn, great job in your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, we have some approvals for some technology, and so we'll go ahead and ask Heather Finley to come to the podium. Number 16 is to approve a technology hardware purchase of Chromebooks.
Good evening. Ms. Rigdon earlier went over some of our CARES budget money, and so she and I discussed what were some technology needs that were kind of related to our needs with how we've done our virtual learning and all of that. And so a lot of our Chromebooks and our flat panels in our rooms fall under that category. And so we are going to use some of that CARES money per your approval to buy go ahead and buy our replacement Chromebooks that we would have originally bought out of SPLOS, and also the flat panels. And I'll get to that in a second. So because we're buying such a large quantity at one time, it will be over $100,000, so that required a request for proposal. So I posted that on, I think it was March the 15th, or no, February, and we went through a month, and that was posted on the Georgia Procurement website, and they had a month to turn those into a secure site that we could not see or look at until that date. It's about the same as a sealed bid. The only thing is you don't like open them publicly, but it's still all private, and we can't open them until the closing time. And so we opened up the proposals, and let's look at the rubric now. We got quite a few for Chromebooks. So how we evaluated them, Scott and I sat down and did this together for several hours over a few days, and we looked at the price, the services that they provide that we asked for. We also looked to see if they could promise a certain delivery date. Chromebooks are really hard to find right now because of the pandemic, and everybody's been ordering them. So we didn't want to have an order that lingered out there for 6 or 7 months, so we wanted to make sure they could ensure a delivery date by June. And then also a big part of ours is references. When you're spending that much money with a company, you want them to have good references and preferably a good history with us as well. And so our winner on our rubric was Vivacity Tech. We bought a few things from them before, but they had excellent customer service, and they had a really good price on their device that we wanted. It's the newest Chromebook. So that's who I would like to present to you as our proposal winner. So that is for 750 Chromebooks from Vivacity Tech for $190,425. And that actually will take care of all of our replacement Chromebooks for next year. We have 386 right now in our fleet that are going end of life, which means they can no longer be updated this summer. And then we additionally buy always 250 for our 6th graders to start off with. And then this will complete like literally 2 through 12. So we're done with that. Like we talked about 2 months ago, that's the goal. And so that's wonderful. So I'm very excited about that. I'm not sure excited the techs are about getting 750 Chromebooks ready to go out of the district. I'm glad y'all are voting on it, not them. But we'll do it in phases per your approval. But I would like to present to you this purchase from Vivacity Tech for $190,425 to be purchased with CARES funds.
Mr. Chair, I make the recommendation as presented.
Can we check on the motion?
You have that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
I missed the discussion, Mr. Chairman. Do we have any areas in Fannin County that don't have internet capability?
So, interesting that you asked that. I posted out a survey at the end of last month, and the state has given us a map. I don't think the map's like extremely accurate. It does show a lot of the national forest areas certainly don't have internet service, but I had a little over 300 people reply to the survey, and only 2 people out of that 300 said they could not get service at their house. They couldn't get it. I had another 3 people that said they could get it but could not afford it. And then about 100 of them said they have it, but it's not reliable. So they would want to use some sort of hotspot. So, and they have cell service at their house. So we're working on that, and I'm actually working with Christy Gribble. That was part of the survey, was to really determine, with all this money the state has to expand broadband in our area, what we can do as a county and a school system together to get some of that money in here to get to those areas that do not have it. And so because we have different companies in play here, it's kind of hard to get a real map of exactly who doesn't have service, to be honest with you. So it's kind of hard to overlay those maps together. But I'm working on that with Christy Gribble, who in turn is working with Mr. Hensley on the commission to see who we can work with to get some of that money to come to Fannin County. Because there's a lot of money out there in the state to expand broadband, and we'd like to see that here. If not to expand it to people that don't have it, which we need to do, but also get fiber in these places that don't have fiber and have very poor service. I know Mr. Graham would appreciate that.
We've tried to put fertilizer around the telephone lines, but it hasn't worked.
I feel all those people that live out here, you feel your pain. But we are working very hard on that. We have about 150 hotspots now in our inventory, and we only have about 100 checked out. So we're not even using all of them right now. And that's a good sign to me. That means that everybody that needs one has one. We're not maxed out like we were in the spring. We have them available for any student that needs them, not just online learners. K through 12. It's a long answer to your question, but
It was a great question and a very interesting answer. Any other questions? No.
I would make one quick comment. One of the impediments to that process was an IRS ruling, and I serve on the Budget Economy Committee in Washington, and we actually got it reversed, but when they provided grant money to rural electric membership corporations to facilitate what you just talked about, in the tax code, they had to report that as income, which would have moved almost all of them out of their tax-free category, so they wouldn't touch it. But we did get that reversed, so hopefully.
I hope so. And that's what it'll take. It takes us and it takes the vendors. It takes the ETCs and the TDSs and the Blue Ridge Mountain Electrics to work with the counties to bring that in, because they're the people that ultimately have to run the fiber. They have to run the service. So
That tax obstacle is no longer in place, and maybe we'll see some acceleration in the process.
that's very good news. That's very good news.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 17, to approve technology hardware purchase with interactive flat panels. Ms. Spindles.
Same process for the flat panels. This was exciting news when I talked to Ms. Rigdon about doing this. As you know, we've been we've been replacing our interactive projectors in our classrooms that were getting very old and antiquated, and we wanted the standardization of these flat panels, which we love, and they've been wonderful. We have very, very little issues with them, actually hardly ever. Teachers love them. We're getting a lot of great response back from them. They're easy to use. And so we have about 65 left to replace, and with CARES money, we're going to be able to do that. And when we get this finished by the end of the summer, we'll have every classroom will have a flat panel in it, and will all be standardized across the district, including many mobile ones on carts in the across the building to be moved around to different locations. So we had a lot of new vendors in this category that I had not dealt with before, so that made it a little bit more difficult, because when you're doing a large purchase like that, you want to know who you're dealing with and can they deliver. And so on our rubric, we have someone that scored higher, but we had never done business with this particular this company before. And I reached out to VSonic. I have a very good relationship with the manufacturer, and he can't tell me who to choose, but he certainly suggested I stick with a trusted education vendor to make sure I'm getting the product, and when they can deliver the product and do exactly what they say they're going to do. And so we have a very, very long history with Gov Connection that goes way back to Dr. Watney. And they do exactly what they say they're going to do. They deliver on time and do a very good job. And so we would ask to approve the purchase from Gov Connection for the boards. And so the total for the boards is $202,230. It's 59 of these, and then that's split up. We can't order so many at one time at the high school. It's just too much for them to install at one time. So we'll have 2 different orders for the high school and 2 different increments, and then we'll order each of those for the middle school and the elementary schools as well. And we'll do those as soon as they come in, starting late May, per your approval throughout the summer. So when school starts, everybody will have their new boards in the room, ready to go. And the cool thing about these is we also we'll order the floor mounts, so the kids in kindergarten, it goes down to their level. I don't know if y'all seen those or not. If you haven't, we'll look at one next Thursday. But we have them so they lower to the kindergartners level so they can reach it. And then, of course, the ones on the mobile carts as well, if that's warranted.
So let's go ahead and discuss the funding, the last paragraph there.
CARES money for this, not SPOS money. And so this is speeding this up almost probably 2 years for us. So that's an exciting thing for us. We really thought this wouldn't be done until probably the fall of 22. So it's exciting if this gets approved for us to go ahead and get this project finished.
So the smart use of these federal funds that Ms. Reagan spoke of, protects the SPOS funds, but then also protects the general fund, which is predominantly property taxes. So trying to make smart decisions to protect those other funds using the federal funds. Any questions on this? Mr. Chair, I make a recommendation to approve as Ms. Finley's presented.
The chair have that motion. So moved. I'll second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Just want to give a shout out to the tech department. Both of these are huge projects, and I was asked for some advice from the recent new superintendent who was within the system. First thing I said is when you need to choose a successor who will do a great job and take your former department to the next level and won't tempt you to micromanage in any way. And I'm thankful that that's exactly what's happened with Ms. Finley. You've done a great job. She's also taken care of my people. Give a shout out to them. Got Mr. Mathis back here in the back. I know that he's a huge part of going over all of that data that you saw to help make those smart decisions in the selections. So thank you both for your department. Maybe watching us online right now.
You're only as good as the people you work with, and I certainly work with some excellent people. Thank you.
Good job, Ms. Finley. All right, let's take a look at our next item on the agenda board. It's number 18, and that's to approve the external board review. And Mr. Inslee's been working hard on this. And we just recently had that meeting. Mr. Inslee, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Watney. Board, good afternoon. This is our board external review that we had on March the 30th, 2021. This is a part of being an exemplary board through GSBA. So we had that meeting on the 30th. We had a great representation. I served as the chair of that committee. We had our vice chair, Terry Bramlett, serve on that committee. Dr. Watney was as well there. Mr. Galloway, our chair, was a part of that. Sandy Ott was a community member from University of North Georgia. And Frankie Rigdon was a community member from ETC. And so this was our agenda for that day. We were going to discuss the external review data results, which is the same survey that you guys took back in December. And they took that same thing, and it gives us a great opportunity for us to be able to share, about policies and the things that you guys do and what happens in our school system. And so we kind of finalized everything for everybody for the approval, for your approval. And like I said, this is the memo that we wrote to you guys, to Fannin County Board of Education members, the Board Internal Review Committee, which was Chad Galloway, Terry Bramlett, Sandy Ott, Frankie Rigdon, Robert Henson, and Dr. Watney. We met on March the 30th, and we said the 2020-21 Board External Review Committee met on Tuesday, March the 30th, 2021 to review the results of the online board assessment for the annual board standards review. All committee members unanimously agreed that the review was very helpful and informative to all committee members as they discussed the policies and procedures that the Fannin County Board of Education has in place, the important role that the parent involvement plays in student success, and diligence that the school system employees and board members show in making parent and community involvement a priority is evident. All members agreed also that the Fannin County Board of Education members function together in a well-organized and professional manner. It was noted that board members work alongside the superintendent towards the common goal of higher student achievement for each and every student in the county. This reaffirms the vision of the school board members that the Fannin County school system holds a vision of excellence for all students with successful progression at each level and 100% graduation rate. It was agreed upon by all that went through this process that it was a very valuable experience. And I want to thank Mr. Galloway and Mr. Bramlett and Dr. Watney for serving on that committee. That is always a joy each year because it's a great way for us to be able to showcase and talk to our community members about all those cool things we got going on in Fannin County Schools.
Mr. Inslee, you did a great job with that, and this does require board approval, correct?
Correct.
Order, are there any questions about the process before we look at approval? Mr. Chair, I recommend that we approve this as presented by Mr. Inslee.
Through the chair, have that motion.
So moved.
You have a second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Okay, Mr. Inslee, local board training update.
Yes, sir. We have had one of our retreats up to this point, and our second retreat is coming up very soon. Next Thursday, April the 22nd, we will have our second retreat. Of course, we always invite our media to join us, but as you can see from our training schedule, we had our charter system training and the legal updates at our last retreat. This particular retreat, we're going to be looking at the current system-wide technology initiative planning for the future. So Ms. Finley, as she referenced earlier, if you haven't seen one of those ViewSonic boards, we've got a great day for you to be able to see all the technology initiatives that's going on throughout our school system. And we're also going to look at facilities planning. These things that you're approving, the things that you see from Mr. Vanner each month, we're going to look at those things as well. So this will actually complete our second retreat, which will require our 12 hours of training for GSBA. So we're getting very close to applying for the exemplary board status. So I just appreciate each one of you for what you have done and the commitment you have had to continue to seek that status for our Board of Education. And this is our schedule that we've got lined up. As you know, last time we went to Fannin County High School and we went to West Fannin. And this time we were going to go to East Fannin, Blue Ridge, and the middle school. Well, after our last retreat, when you got to see the SGT going on at West Fannin, we saw this cool thing called the Louvre. And I got to see it, and I want you guys to see it. And I think it's going to be really cool when you see the projection. I know Miss Danner's excited to have it, so we're going to make a trip down to West Fannin and see the Louvre. It'll be around parent pickup time, so we're probably going to have to park in front and kind of walk down, but we're going to travel out there. We're going to then go out to the Decoy property to kind of see what's going on, like Mr. Danner was sharing. You can actually see it live version. And then we will travel to East Fannin. Mr. Price is going to show us the great things going on out there. We're going to travel to the middle school, visit the middle school out there. Mr. Young will be officially in charge there that next Thursday. So we're looking forward to the great things going out there as well. We're going to eat lunch. We've generally in the past eat lunch at high school, but we're going to have lunch out there. And then we're going to travel up to Blue Ridge and see the great things going on at Blue Ridge, and then finish up at the Technology Center. Miss Finley is going to talk about some of the technology initiatives that's going on up there, and then we will travel back to the BOE. But we'll start early at 7:15 for breakfast, and we'll have a fun-filled day, and I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to see you guys next Thursday.
It's always a great day to get in the schools. Sydney, we hope you can join us for any or all of this. The media is always invited to our activities. So, Mr. Henson, this does not require board approval, so it's just presented for informational purposes. And, look forward to that day as well. It'll be a great day. All right, are there any questions for Mr. Hensley about that agenda item before we move on? Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at item number 20, which is personnel. I'll defer to the chair, whether there's need for executive session.
Mr. Kelly?
Mr. Louise?
Good.
We're good, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the personnel sheet that is dated 4/15/2021. Give you a moment to get there. Looks like everybody's ready to go. All right, our first listing on this is our resignations, and I have 3 resignations that I'll present collectively with effective dates of 5/26/2021. And these 3 are Jason Shadden, Yvette Searcy, and Vanessa Weaver. Make that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Chair, have that motion. So moved. Second. All in favor?
This is okay. Our next 3 resignations that we will take together collectively have an effective date of 5/31/2021. Mr. Chair, these are Jessica Holsworth, Brenda Thomas, and Sarah Welch. Make those recommendations together, Mr. Chair.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you. We have recommendations that are pending completion of paperwork and background check. The first one is Allison Lindstrom, teacher, effective the next school year, 2021-2022. Make that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Can the chair have that motion? So moved. Second. All in favor?
Okay, thank you. The next one is a recommendation for the parent liaison position, and this is Katie Siebel. Make that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Chair, have that motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Okay, thank you so much. The next recommendation, now you may have heard the name a moment ago in Resignations effective May 26th, but between now, starting tomorrow, and then we're going to recommend Vanessa Weaver. As Mr. Young is the assistant principal becoming the principal, he's going to need an assistant principal. So Ms. Weaver will serve as the interim assistant principal at Fannin County Middle School. Make that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Can the chair have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you. I have a recommendation for substitute transportation. Again, this is completion of paperwork, background check, and training. Those are pending, and so once that's complete, I'd like to recommend Cheryl Hayes for substitute transportation.
Chair, have that motion.
So
So, second. All in favor? You were choosing on that one, Sam.
Okay, the next is our administrators, and I will just recommend them collectively as listed. These are our administrators in the school district that we want to have come back for 2021-2022 school year, collectively as presented, Mr. Chair. Make that recommendation.
Chair, have that motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you. The next is the master list of certificated personnel that we are bringing back for school year 21-22, and I'll make these recommendations collectively, Mr. Chair.
As a chair, I'll make that motion. Second. All in favor?
Okay, thank you. We have one recommendation that we have removed due to a family kinship on the board, and so I'm going to recommend separately as a certificated personnel for 2021-2022 school year, Heather Boyle, who will also be at 100% next year. Make that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Chair, have that motion.
So moved.
Chair, I'll abstain.
All those in favor?
Okay, so we have a motion, second, 4 votes with 1 abstention. Who was the second? All right, we good? All right, that's it. Our personnel, which takes us to the next item on the agenda, which is superintendent's comments. And board, I just want to give a huge shout out. Back on March 12th, we worked with Fannin County EMA, Director Robert Graham, as well as the Health Department and North Georgia Technical College to help vaccinate those of our personnel. Very quickly after the governor opened it up for educators on March 12th, we were able to offer a vaccination for them. We are thankful for that, and we want to give a huge shout out to them for their assistance in helping to facilitate that. I also want to thank, as Mr. Ruth had brought up and showed the flyer, what the health department is doing and offering for our students 16 and over with, who are interested and can receive parent consent for not only those students but also their parents. April 27th at the health department. We're thankful for that as well. And Lord, how about that wrestling team? Isn't that awesome? Just again, I want to give a huge shout out to them and their coaches and our state champion wrestler, Blake Summers, and it's amazing. Thank you to Mr. Knuckles for his service and assistance with the transition to Mr. Young as the principal. I know you're going to do a great job, Mr. Young. Presentations this evening, Mr. Price was fantastic. Ms. Regan, you can go through the data and make sense of it for us. Thank you so much. Mr. Ruth, great job. Mrs. Wynn, I'm so excited about what we're going to unveil, not only for the 1% on the certified, but what we're doing for the classified pay scales. As it was said by the board during the comments, that's something that's needed to be done. Mr. Danner, thank you for your presentations as well, even when I threw you a curveball. And the time as experts here on the ball made it flow. So looking forward to the retreat next week. I want to thank public comment that came out and spoke this evening. Thank you. And I just want to take just a second just to think, for the past year, kind of what we've been able to do as a team, as a school district. We love our kids, and we strongly believe that they need to be in school, and we're thankful that we were able to make that go. It has not been easy. I can tell you that this has been a difficult year. It's been a difficult year, though, made possible by the hard work of those people every day in the classrooms who love our kids, in the leadership in the schools and at the district level. They're governed by a board who cares and loves those kids and those personnel in this community. And I just commend my leaders for their transparency from day one when we came to a meeting here trying to work out exactly what school was going to look like. We were trying to build the plane while we were in the air and trying to put it together and make it go. There was no rule book. And with what guidance we were able to get from DPH, which was very helpful to the extent that they were able to provide us with guidance, and just at every level with community government, ready to help out, people ready to help out, and just that resolve to be there and get our kids in school as quickly as possible as we could. And I want to commend this board because the calendar that you approved for this school year, last school year, pre-COVID, we've been able to adhere to that calendar with in-person instruction. And that wouldn't happen without the people that work with the kids and those families that support those kids. We love them and we're thankful for them. And at every level with leadership, like I said, it hasn't been an easy year, but we've gotten it done. And if there's concerns, I encourage them to talk to their principals. Talk to my office. Talk to me. And if none of that is possible, I encourage them to reach out to you. People to put their name on something. The concern is there. Mr. Inslee and I are in a Bible study group, and it's funny how the timing on things just kind of works out. One of the verses that we've been studying in detail, and it came up this week, I thought, how appropriate is that? It comes from Titus. Show yourself in all respects to be a model of good works, and in your teaching show integrity, dignity, and sound speech that cannot be condemned, so that an opponent may be put to shame, having nothing evil to say about us. I am thankful for the blessings that this school district has received. I'm thankful for the prayers that we've received over the course of the past year that have allowed us to be here. It all comes back to the people. That is our most precious resource. And those people are taking care of our kids. I'm thankful to be in Fannin County. Mr. Chair.
Anybody volunteer? Go ahead, Mr. Coach.
Again, I'd like to say, I'm glad to be a part of this family. It just holds true more and more that meet people, in the community, born in this county, 1964. So, been here a minute, and I like this place. It is home. And so, I'm very excited, when I see Officer Thomas Kay stand up and lead us in the pledge, and all our resource officers that thin blue line that I don't think we respect enough. But thank you for all that you do. And then, man, like you said, not just athletics, but the whole school, how it's been so productive and so explosive in accolades that they've accomplished this year. It's simply amazing. Thank you, David Henson, for all that you've done to promote that. And Coach Patterson, what an awesome thing. Made me want to cry, because that's my family right there. And it says rejoice when they rejoice and weep when they weep. I'm excited because he gets excited. You can see the passion that he pours into to coaching. And Mr. Young, congratulations on your job. And I feel that kindred spirit. Was able to look across the room at the Teacher of the Year that we had 2 years ago, I guess now, and see Miss Mitchell standing there, that around, 1975, I lost 2 uncles in the same day. And it all came rushing back while I was sitting in that room, and I look over and I just see her, and 1975 came back to me, and I remember how she held me and said, "What can I do for you, and how can I help you?" And that's amazing, because you do forget those things at times, but sometimes it just comes rushing back in. So, Mr. Young, I understand the love, of somebody guiding you and directing you, and I think we have 400 employees. I think we have that really love kids. Everywhere I talk, I see them loving on their kids, and the fact that we really do take care of them. $98,300 in cleaning and sanitation supplies this year. I think we're doing something to take care of them, all that we can. And so I thank you. Thankful that we have the means to be able to do that. And so, John Mason, thank you for your service. Thank you for your stance. And Godspeed to you. And this is a wonderful place. I'm glad to be affiliated with it. And somehow, Doctor, we get to see each other a lot. And I thank you for being my brother. So, praying with me. I thank you for the job that you do. And that's it.
Mr. Beard.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. It's hard to go after that. All I can say is ditto, Mr. Mike. I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. When those young men and the young lady stood before us at the opening, the wrestling team, that's what it's all about. It thrills my heart to see these young children participate. I'll get it right in a minute, I hope. Anyhow, go and do the things that they do, and I'm just really excited that they can do that. Also, I'd like to thank the coaches for their part. I know that coaches are an essential part of anybody learning. I don't care if it's guitar or whatever it is. A coach is always essential. And Mr. Young, when he came and spoke to us, he was talking about teachers who had made a difference in his life. And I think coaches make a lot of difference in our children's life. Mr. Price, I can't tell you the first time I held a chicken in my hand. It goes back too far. But I can tell you this. I remember it was exciting just to hold a little bitty chicken in my hand. And I can just see one of those children, Mr. Roof, with one of those chickens in their hand. I can see that, and that's such a thrill to me. Ms. Rickon, great presentation. Mr. Roof, also a great presentation. I'm excited about our construction. I was out through there this week, and they're getting a lot done. Ms. Gwynn, thanks for all your work, the people that work with you on the finances. Mr. Knuckles, I can't say enough. I just wish you the best. I'd like to thank all of our school personnel. They're doing a great job. And I want to come back to one thing, and if I don't get nothing said tonight, other than you taking this home with you, the Fannin County school system is at the present time, in my opinion, the best school in the state of Georgia. And I believe that 110%. At the present time, best school in the state of Georgia. Mr. Chair.
Mr. Bleeds.
Kids first, family, love. John Mason, brought respect to our meeting, which is to be respected and admired for him standing up and taking a stand this day. I too am so very proud of our school system. I believe we really have kids first to the best of our ability and continuing to get better all the time. So thank you. Thank everyone in our system.
Mr. Mayor.
I won't reiterate all of the congratulations to the individuals, although I just certainly agree with all of them. Dr. Gwatney mentioned that this has been a challenging year, and indeed it has. The challenges create opportunities, and this system has risen to the occasion. I'm so proud of the dedication of our teachers, our staff, and our employees who have made it possible for our children to attend school. Many people talked about the risks of COVID in the school, but when I can't sleep at night or I'm driving and I'm thinking about ways that are things that we could do to keep our kids safe, there are risks beyond COVID when you have parents that have to work to support their families and children are at home unattended, and the challenges of online learning. So hats off to the entire system for their dedication and making it possible. And I will say this, I take great joy in being part of a team whose sole purpose is to develop policy that supports our teachers, empowers our students, our young people to grow and learn, and it's so exciting to see them as they move through our system and then on to greater and greater accomplishments. Thank you.
I'll start by saying thank you for everyone that showed up, everybody that's watching. And I say it time and time again, it is a pleasure to serve in this program. All of them have said it's a great team to work with. There was a word mentioned tonight before the meeting started, and Mr. Bramlett got to hear it from our athletic director, and he called it a culture. And if there was ever a word that I think describes from the top down what you see in our system and what's going on now is a culture. The way everybody works together and the way everybody is helping each other to get through all of this is impressive. And to be a part of it and to be actually to see how well y'all are all doing, I am very proud. And just the accolades that keep walking across the stage speak volumes. So with that, I say thank you and entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, sure. Just wanted to, this is something that's kind of struck me as we went through the personnel list. We've got a gentleman in here that I feel like I'd be remiss not to recognize him. He's up here. Where'd he go? Eldon Motes. Step out a little bit where we can see you, Mr. Motes. This man is, I met this man when I was a student at East Fannin, and he is a teacher and one of the, if not the best teacher I've ever had out of high school and 5 college degrees. He holds his own, he's world class, and he's been here since the moment this school opened. Is this your 46th year, Mr. Motes?
46, and counting.
And we've recommended him for next year for 47. And it's things like that longevity that makes a difference. And I remember you said you met him in 5th grade, you know, and this gentleman has impacted generations. And we're about that, and I'm proud of that. Thank you, sir.
Before we close, how many in here personally had Mr. Motes? Wow, pretty impressive. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Thank you.